Welcome back to SCLC Today. Oh, wow. We're so happy that you joined us. And guess what? We have the First Lady back again by special request. By who? The people. You all responded so diligently and committedly that you wanted to hear more from the First Lady because you hear from me all the time. But I'm happy to say that she's here. But I just want to say it was such a great opportunity to see President Obama and his lovely wife, the First Lady, former First Lady, Miss Michelle Obama, to be at the White House to have their portrait hung. What an exciting moment. Just the other day, we had the mean spirit of folks in politics and people not getting along, this party against that party. This symbolism of what they're going to leave and bringing folks together. And I think that's what President Barack Obama illustrated during his administration, that he wanted to work with the holistic approach of all people. And First Lady, I know you was elated and excited about seeing them at the White House on their return. And what do you see in terms of particularly Michelle Obama, the former First Lady, and what the example she will be setting with that portrait hanging in the White House when visitors and people alike from all over the world will come and focus upon how did she get there and why is that important?
Well, I actually teach about women in history. So it is wonderful to see our former First Lady Michelle Obama hanging there in the White House. I think it's great for our young people to have someone to look up to, especially our young girls. At this time in history, we think that we have accomplished it all, but we have not. We're still climbing the ladder of accomplishments, and that's one great accomplishment, something that our girls, our young ladies, we can all look up to and we can all aspire to.
Believe it or not, it is still a bit odd for me to stand in this historic space, see this big, beautiful painting staring back at me. Growing up on Euclid Avenue, Mommy, I never could have imagined that any of this would be part of my story. But even if it's all still a bit awkward for me, I do recognize why moments like these are important. Why all of this is absolutely necessary. Traditions like this matter, not just for those of us who hold these positions, but for everyone participating in and watching our democracy. You see, the people, they make their voices heard with their vote. We hold an inauguration to ensure a peaceful transition of power. Those of us lucky enough to serve, work, as Barack said, as hard as we can for as long as we can, as long as the people choose to keep us here. And once our time is up, we move on. And all that remains in this hallowed place are our good efforts and these portraits. Portraits that connect our history to the present day. Portraits that hang here as history continues to be made. So for me, this day is not just about what has happened, it's also about what could happen. Because a girl like me, she was never supposed to be up there next to Jacqueline Kennedy and Dolly Madison. She was never supposed to live in this house, and she definitely wasn't supposed to serve as First Lady.
Love you, Michelle.
But I've always wondered, where does that supposed to come from? Who determines it? And too often in this country, people feel like they have to look a certain way or act a certain way to fit in, that they have to make a lot of money or come from a certain group or class or faith in order to matter. But what we're looking at today, a portrait of a biracial kid with an unusual name and the daughter of a water pump operator and a stay-at-home mom. What we are seeing is a reminder that there's a place for everyone in this country. Because as Barack said, the two of us can end up on the walls of the most famous address in the world, then again, it is so important for every young kid who is doubting themselves to believe that they can too. That is what this country is about.
Yes, and I would like to mention the fact that we were excited last week to have our Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, here with us. And we're just so excited that the SCLC women actually invited her, and she took the time to come and be with us and talk with us. We want to take this time to say thank you to Speaker Nancy Pelosi for taking her time to say hello to us here at the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And also, we had a history-making event happen with the death of Mikhail Gorbachev. My husband had the privilege of meeting him in Germany a few years ago. Charles was invited to the World Conference that he was having there. And I would really like to see what my husband has to say about Mikhail Gorbachev, because I think he fell in love with this man.
And that's because of you, being a retired history teacher. You always told me about the significance of Mikhail Gorbachev, First Lady. You always said that had it not been for Mikhail Gorbachev knocking down that wall, and at the time we didn't know he was influenced by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. until I actually visited him the first time. I think that was 2012 when I actually went to Moscow, Russia, upon his invitation for Dr. Lamb, Dr. Joseph Lamb, and myself and our entourage to come and visit him. And I want to thank Dr. Joseph Lamb, who was a recipient of the Presidential Award this year as well, for letting us know that he agreed with you, that this man was so significant in saving this planet called Earth. And Dr. Lamb and I and the entourage traveled to Moscow, Russia. And the fact being is that we sat there and talked to him in his office. And he actually told a story about he heard Dr. King speak. And that was 1964, September the 13th. I finished high school, 1964. And he said he heard, in his words, he told us that he heard Dr. King say, "No man-built wall can separate God from his children." Remember, that was 1964. And Mikhail Gorbachev knocked the wall down in 1989. 1989. And I was also invited to Berlin, Germany, to the 25th commemoration of the fall of the Berlin Wall. He invited me there, and we had a weekend together where he talked about Dr. King and SCLC. This man just passed a few days ago. But many people in America don't understand the historicity of Mikhail Gorbachev and his love for the global village. You hear me talk about the global village? I got that from former President Mikhail Gorbachev, who made this transition because he believed that no longer can we let a body of water separate us, or being from one country or another country can divide the human spirit of God's children. And I asked him, "Are you a Christian?" And he just smiled. And I know in my heart that he feel God because of what his life represented in terms of his leadership. That's why we're having a problem today with the current president, President Putin, and what he is invading and terrorizing the country of Ukraine. Because former president who just made his transition, Mikhail Gorbachev, is the one who dismantled communism. And yes, I get excited over that because of the freedom that we have had. And you must do what is right. And this man would go down in history. Not President Ronald Reagan, who said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear that wall down." He said, and it's documented, I have it in news articles, where he said it was none other than Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. who he heard. And I asked the question, Mr. Gorbachev, were you in the audience when Dr. King spoke in East Berlin, 1964, September the 13th? He said, no, I was eavesdropping because I worked for the KVG. But I heard him make those statements. And he said, no man-built wall can separate God from his children. Thank you so much, and Godspeed.